Asthma is a growing problem in Europe. In many countries, frequency of people diagnosed with asthma is increasing.
We've been known that allergy has been increasing for last at least 30 years.
There's an increasing trend of the disease, so we expect that many more people will become allergic in the future.
When I was a child, I can remember one child in the school who was asthmatic. Now it's several in each class.
If they are not treated properly and recognized and diagnosed, they can progress to very severe forms of disease, especially like severe asthma, which can be a heavy burden to persons who suffer from it. Sometimes they have to go to the emergency because they can't breathe.
There is a group of people who are calling emergency service even up to 20 times a year, which means they have a continuous exacerbation of the disease, and they really suffer. And that's one of our goals, is to find a way to help them.
One of the things we know well is that cold viruses cause acute attacks of asthma. We're just beginning to identify the fact that people who have asthma have less strong immune responses to virus infections than people who don't. We don't know whether that applies to people who have allergy but don't have asthma. So that's an area we'll be looking into in the predicta study.
If we do not have a specific trigger, an allergen, for example, or a trigger through a virus, then the expression, the clinical expression, the symptoms of allergy are not present. So we think that the reason of persistence is when you have repeated sort of triggers, repeated infections, for example, repeated exposures, that after some time they block your immune system, your reaction, into a hyperreactive state.
Predicta is the project which will answer many questions which we don't know yet. An allergy is a very complex disease, and the allergic individuals is having the exacerbations during the viral or bacterial infections. So predicta will answer what is changing during the infection.
All of these collaborations, and especially predicta also, will give me and my co-workers in our lab specific opportunities which we didn't have before.
There are lots of different points of view what predicta looks into that. Different models with mice, with cells, with humans as well, trying to find out whether not one stimulus but repeated stimuli will eventually lead you to this allergic, let's say, continuous allergic or asthmatic condition.
I believe that at the end of predicta, we could better understand the pathophysiology of asthma exacerbation. Maybe in the future it could lead to the development of new treatments to prevent exacerbation.
The project aims to understand why people with this disease, either the chronic inflammation or rhinitis, do not respond to viral infections well. So why they are not efficient in responding. So one of the main aims of predicta is to actually go deep to the molecular mechanisms which are important and are critical to understand these issues. And it's more than obvious that a full understanding of these mechanisms can really help us design new drugs and new therapies to actually combat this disease.
It's very difficult for the physician to detect viruses that can, for example, promote asthma attacks, because at present we only have the possibility to detect the virus directly in the nasal mucosa. This only means that it is present, but we cannot really say whether you became infected by the virus. And this is one of the major things that we are trying to do in this European Union project, to develop diagnostic tools where we also can read the immune response of the patient in response to the virus, to really see that the patient has been infected.
It's very difficult to defend ourselves from the microorganisms that aggravate or trigger asthma exacerbations. This is because these are the most common viruses. It's the common cold virus that usually exacerbates asthma. So whatever measure you could take in order to avoid colds, for example, not going in a place with many people when there is, let's say, an epidemic, and try to avoid contact with sick people, washing your hands, etc., etc., might somehow protect you from these exposures. however, is very difficult, and practically at this stage we do not have a good protection. That is why within Predicta we're trying to find ways of actually actively combating that.